Hello, hello, hello. You have joined Stories with Kishen, of course, because we go live. You always see me adjusting something. You know why? Because I want to make sure that everything is the way that it should be. So, okay, had to put that there. So again, my name is Kishen. I am your human resource. I help people see the possibilities in what they think is impossible. I am disrupting HR, disrupting leadership, and disrupting you tonight with a very special and amazing guest. Get your pens, get your paper, get your pencils, your Post-it notes, whatever you need to take notes, because you do not want to miss this. I have, before I get started, I want to acknowledge what has happened on the campus of Michigan State University, my alma mater. I am representing my green, my Spartan head, and my Spartan buttons in honor of those who were murdered, who were shot and passed away at the hands of a gunman who opened fire on campus on Monday, which is February 13th. So I'm going to ask that you keep the families who have lost their children, their loved ones, keep them in your prayers. For those who have family or relatives or people who are connected, whether they're faculty, staff, or students, it's definitely a tragedy that is being felt not just in East Lansing, but literally across the globe. I was on a live where Governor Whitmer was speaking, and of course, it was at The Rock, for those of you who are familiar with Michigan State University, by the auditorium area. They were talking about the event that happened with those students and with those shootings. So there were literally people all across the world, the globe, who were chiming in, who were sending green and white hearts in light of what happened. So again, keep the families in your prayers. Those who are still in critical condition, I'm going to encourage you to pray for them as well. I am a believer, so I am absolutely keeping them in my prayers. So I ask you to do the same. So as we get started, before we get started and before I bring my guest up, once again, I am going to just do a plug of my book, You Are Called to Purpose, Her Story. This is a book that was written as an anthology with others around the globe. And my story is the first one in this book. It can be found on my website, www.Kishen, Kishen, Newton, NEWTON.com. So go there, get your book, and enjoy it. So all of the prelims are out of the way, and you have been waiting for my guest, Miss Cynthia Walker. I've known her in the community. I've seen her. We were at an event not too long ago, and I was like, and we looked at each other and was like, we need to get together. And I said it before, but I did not want to waste another year trying to make this happen. So she agreed, and here we are today. So just a little bit about her, and I'm going to read because it's easier to read than me trying to memorize. So Cynthia Walker is a native of Grand Rapids, Michigan. She is the mother of 3 adult children and grandmother to 6. She is a staple in, it says her community, I'm going to say our community, and is an advocate for our youth. Cynthia has worked alongside many nonprofit organizations and community groups that empower, encourage, educate, and celebrate young people. She believes that every young person is full of greatness and that some of them just need guidance and support with unleashing and channeling their full potential. Cynthia has two published books, Dream, Keep It Moving, and Letters from Joy. And she'll be telling us a little bit about those books. She is the founder of Dream K.I.M Speaks, a nonprofit organization created and dedicated to young people. And I talked about the shooting that happened. And although the shooter wasn't young, these young people who experienced this, who knows what they're going through? And to be able to unleash and channel what's happening with them, you may be able to find some tools in what she shares tonight. You can find her in public schools, juvenile detention centers, family district court, youth groups, and anywhere where young people are. Where does her passion come from? It comes from life experiences and seeing that young people can be the unconsidered group. And that's important to mention. She believes that young people have feelings, emotions, challenges, and opinions that deserve to be heard. And her favorite statement is to always dream and keep it moving. So without further delay, I am bringing to the broadcast our guest of the hour, Miss Cynthia Walker.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I am so glad. Like I said, we've talked before, and I said,
Yeah.
we got to connect. We got to connect because I know you've been doing some pretty amazing things
Thank
in the
you.
community. So I hyped you up a little bit talking about your books
Yeah.
and all that you've done in the community. But before we get to that, just tell us a little bit about your background, where you came from, how you grew up. Because sometimes I'm a firm believer, I'm a sociologist by nature, that people's environments, especially as young people, it can influence them in their adulthood. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So I come from a two-parent home. And I always tell young people that sometimes come from a one-parent home. Um, your life doesn't always mean it's going to be great with a two-parent home. My parents both work, raised us, took care of us our whole life. And sometimes when you have multiple children in the house, I believe sometimes things get missed.
Mm.
So as a young child, I was more of a tomboy. I was the one out climbing the trees, dissecting worms,
Me too.
walking along the creek picking grapes and stuff, and just out there with nature. So that was always me. I wouldn't say I was a loner, but somewhat kind of a loner. I
Yeah.
had friends, but I probably was more to myself more often than not.
Okay.
Um, Looking back, I can see that there was some sadness
Mm.
in me as a child. Can't really pinpoint where that came from. Wasn't diagnosed as being depressed, but I can look back and see some of those characteristics and traits in me. So, growing up, becoming a teenager, you got this odd shape. You get picked on this end, and other things going on this end. So, that can kind of cause some confusion in your life as well.
Yeah.
So moving forward, I get to high school, whole new world, right? Go
Mm.
from middle school playing with Barbie dolls to high school, this whole different kind of world. And so, like I told you before, I was kind of sheltered to myself. So sometimes you get exposed to things that you may not have known about that can take you on some different journeys and paths in your life.
So
So,
what are some of those things that you were exposed to that you think influenced that?
so some things young people tend to explore, and things that they do that we probably shouldn't be doing. That caused me to end up a teen mom
Mm.
at the age of 15.
Mm.
I had my son 2 months before I turned 16.
Wow.
So, even in my book, Dream Keep It Moving, it talks about an addiction. You look for that comfort somewhere when you are missing something or going through something in your life. And what I found that comfort in well, I would say loosely comfort in was sex. Some
Yeah.
people turn to drugs, some people turn to alcohol, and that's what brought me comfort, so to speak. Um, I end up pregnant again
Mm.
at the age of 17. So I had another child before I graduated high school. So here I am, 1994, with two children.
Wow.
Thank God I graduated on time,
Okay.
um, and with my class from Ottawa, but I had two children.
Let's talk about that because you said something earlier when there are lots of people in the home, at
Hmm.
least that's what I heard,
Hmm.
and you sometimes feel alone or isolated because, and I too grew up with in a two parent home. However, I did tend to be by myself a lot.
Hmm. Hmm.
So was it, were you looking for, and I'll say this and you, let's just talk through that. Were you looking for somebody to notice you or pay attention to you, do you think?
Looking back, I would say yes. So
Okay.
I have a sibling that's 5 years older than me, and then the next one is 2 years younger than me. And then I have another younger one. He didn't come along till I was like 11. So it was just the three of us for a long time. I say that because I look back and, like I said, I look back and I noticed there was a lot of sad times for
Mhm.
me. A lot of times that I just felt sad, and there really was no reason,
Okay.
but was that recognized? And that's the challenge sometimes, even with two parent homes, when there is multiple kids in the home, sometimes those things get missed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you wanted somebody to notice you,
Yes.
and in that you help people notice you in other ways that sort of validated you
Yes,
in that moment.
I would say yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were looking for validation, you got it temporarily,
Mm-hmm.
and God gave you some amazing children
Yes.
out of that. So you're 19 with two children and you have three.
Yeah, so I had my third one at 19. So at 19 I had three.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So
How was
yeah,
that for you?
shortly after high school, I had my third child. Oh, it was a challenge. It was a struggle. And after having my third one, it was something in me like something is going on with you.
Mm,
I recognized that. Did I know how to fix it? Did I know how to get through it? No. I'm 19 with three children. But I
right.
did recognize something was going on. But even with that, my focus was I have to be a mother to these three children. I have to raise these three children. And
Yeah.
that was always the forefront of my focus, was that I didn't want to be a statistic.
Mm,
Um, those type of things, really hurt my feelings, those things people would say about teen moms. And I
mm.
knew that I wasn't going to be one of those moms that didn't raise her kids and was out in the streets and everything. So I was focused on being a mom.
So were did all of your children have the same dad, or what was the dynamics there?
So my first one has his own father. My youngest two share a father.
Okay, gotcha.
Mhm.
So you're 19, you're trying to figure life out. Something clicked where you were like, mm-mm, this, I need to do something different. So
Yeah.
how did you figure out what that was? What are some of the things that you did?
I can't even say I figured it out then. Um, I didn't have
Mm,
any more kids, so I say that, but I didn't figure it out then. I got so focused in being a mom, and
mhm.
that's where that journey began of before I even found out who I was, I lost myself, if that even makes sense. I was their mother, and that's who I was. Um, did I think I got so consumed in that and really wanting to know my kids and give them individually what they needed or what they wanted from me, that didn't give me time to grow and mature myself.
Yeah. We do that. I did that after I got divorced. It was like I've just poured myself into them because I wanted them to get through what I was experiencing,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of lost myself because, like you said, I became their mother
Mm-hmm.
instead of Kishen.
Yes.
So, talk about that a little bit, because you're young and you're sort of growing up with them. You're discovering life with them. What was that like?
That was a lot of different, like, valleys and hills and mountains, and trying to figure out what does that look like being a perfect mom for them. Their dads weren't really involved in their lives, so trying to cushion that burden for them. And it was just so many things taken I was trying to take on as a young person that I look back and I'm like, I don't know how I did it. I have to give all credit to God, because
Mm,
I cannot give you a blueprint, a manual, curriculum, nothing. Um, but it was a lot of challenges. I know my children did miss out on things.
mm,
Even with the financial piece, working and even picking up more hours to make sure that there was no lack. Um, I look back and I do tell people, make do with what you have,
mm.
because that time is something you can never get back. And so if you
Wow.
consume yourself with working so much and working overtime to try and provide those things, that's really just temporary, because that time is something that you can never get back.
That is so true. I remember telling this young lady, because I made my dad was the example for me. My
Mhm.
mom worked second shift, and she would work overtime. I mean, she did what she needed to do to make sure that we didn't lack. My
Mhm.
dad worked first shift, but if there were events, he was always there
Mhm.
because you don't get that time back. And I was telling this young lady that I said, kids don't get do overs.
Mhm.
Once they grow up, that's it. So if you missed out on something, you just have to make time sometime to just live in those moments.
Mhm.
And sometimes that's not possible, but then we pour ourselves into our children in other ways.
Mhm. Yeah, we
So,
do.
what would you say is the most challenging part of that growing up with your children? Now, you talked about the financial piece.
Mhm.
Um, were there any instances where your children began to behave in a way that indicated that something was happening with them?
Definitely.
Mm,
It was when they became teenagers. Um, I would say my daughter, which is my youngest child, never gave me any problems. Um, Always a very good young lady and carried herself well. My boys, when they became teenagers, it became a struggle with the streets.
mm,
You have people out in the streets, trying to persuade them into different things. And um, there was a gap there because, like I said, I was a single mom. Um, they longed for a relationship with their dad. So now they're looking for a connection in some kind of way.
mm.
And so we did go with a few years with that challenge. And it was hard. It was
Yeah.
hard because, and I throw a shout out to all the nonprofits out here in the community that are for young ladies and for young men, because there were very few to none when my children were growing up. I remember
Mm.
I called everyone I could think of in the city. I called Juvenile, I called Job Corps back in the day, and I was just like screaming at the top of my lungs, somebody help me. I'm
Wow.
never one of those women that are out here. I can raise a man. No, I can love my son. I can love my son as their mother, but I cannot teach a young man to be a man.
And I'm glad you said that because I was watching. I'm probably telling too much, but I was watching Paternity Court. I love Judge Lauren Lake.
Uh-huh.
So in this episode, the young lady said, she's been my father too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is so inaccurate. I mean, you can be a mother, and that's really all that you can be because that's who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can be a father but a father. Now, we may be able to do our best and give our best, but there's still something missing.
Mm-hmm.
And people have said, well, you've been a mother and a father. I'm like, don't put that on me.
Right.
No, 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 no.
That's
I
a lot
have,
of pressure.
yeah. So, what are your thoughts about that? Because you were looking for a way to help your children connect in a way that you couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Were you
Yeah.
able to find that?
Was I able to help them with their gap and their connection? No,
Yeah. Okay.
no. And looking back, everybody has their own journey.
Yeah.
I can try and paint their picture from where I felt like the color lacked in my picture, but it's not going to stick because they have their own journey. Um, God has, He has our path already mapped out for us before we were born. We hear that all the time. And I can't give you what I'm missing because that's not what you're missing.
Right.
So that becomes a challenge too when you're trying to, like say sometimes they say parents are living out their dreams and their children. So I'm trying to make sure you don't go through what I go through, but I don't know what God has in store for you.
Yeah. So, your children are good and grown.
Good and grown.
So, now that they are parents, they're adults,
Mm-hmm.
what's the relationship like? And how do you feel about how they've turned out?
Um, so they're still growing. They're
Mhm.
still young. Like my oldest son, I will say that there was a period of time where he was really angry with me.
Mm.
And he didn't talk to me. As a mother, that hurts. You're like, I gave you life and I raised you, I took care of you all this time. But I had to give him time because he went through things growing up too. He wanted that relationship with his dad. He lived it with a single mom that worked a lot and sometimes missed the mark on things. So, but we have a good relationship now.
Okay. Okay.
Relationship. My
Um,
daughter is always stuck to my hip. I can't get rid of her.
which is not a bad thing.
Right.
I do want to acknowledge that we do have a question.
Okay.
Um, hey, Leonard, just want to say hey. I don't know if
Hey,
you're still
Leonard.
there, but Sam Bush, hey Sam, thanks so much for tuning in. She has a
Hello.
question. She says, "Did you have a fear that your daughter would be a teen mom?"
I didn't. I don't know why I didn't. She was never boy crazy unless
Okay.
she hid it very well. But as her being an adult now, we talk and she shared things with me. She was never boy crazy. So I wasn't really worried about her.
Okay.
Um, I prayed to God that please do not allow my children to have the same journey I had.
Mm.
And my boys were 18 when they started having their children, which
Okay.
was beyond the years I had them. Still young, and I wish they would have waited, but that was my prayer for them is don't let them take the same path I had.
Okay. Um, and that was another part of her question, or even your boys as teen dads. So you just answered that. Um, and did that make you? Because of your daughter being so connected to you, did you find that you poured into her more?
Oh yeah. So it's funny because I think back when she was like middle school, like late middle school, going into high school, and, V-necks were a thing. She was not allowed to wear V-necks. And my mom would buy her a shirt and it'd be a V-neck. It'd go right in the trash. I'm like, you are not wearing V-necks in my house. And
Really?
I don't know why. That was just a thing.
Was it
And
too low cut?
yeah, just a V-neck at all. Even if it came here, it was like no V-necks. And makeup. So she went through middle school. Her friends started to wear makeup, and she was asking to wear makeup. I said, okay, you know what? Let's talk about it when you get into ninth grade. Ninth grade came, never heard a conversation about it. She wore a little bit to dances in high school, but makeup has never been a big thing for her.
Okay. Okay. So Sam said, "Hey, Cynthia. Hey, Kishen." um, and that's important because I know. See, I have 3 daughters and a son, and just that dynamic. They're every. And do you find that all your children are different?
Oh yes,
Okay.
definitely.
So, did you find that you parented them differently because of their personalities?
Mm-hmm. So my oldest son is real strong-willed.
Okay.
Even growing up, and my middle child is a boy too. So he was more of the lovey-dovey, cuddly, and he wanted to sit on the couch with mom and hug up and watch movies and stuff. And my daughter was kind of like that, but she was almost a combination of both of them,
Okay.
strong-willed and lovey-dovey.
Let's talk about these books
Okay.
because the whole, I guess, premise of how I built this was around pouring into your children. Now they're gone and you have to figure out who you are.
Yes.
So you wrote these books. Let's talk about the first book.
Yes. Dream Keep It Moving. My baby.
Okay. And I remember when you were first talking about it and wrote the book. We were at church together. Well, not
Yeah.
together, but we attended the same church.
Mm-hmm.
And this was, I don't know if it was right after Lady Melinda passed away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know Lady Melinda is a late wife of the Bishop Marvin L. Sapp.
Mm-hmm.
And she always had this saying, keep it moving, people, keep it
Yes.
moving. So
Yes.
let's talk about that. You write this book because you hear this
Mm-hmm.
and it's stuck.
Yes. When I started Lighthouse, I was in a dark, dark place. I had came to a bridge where it was like either I'm gonna find me a counselor or I'm gonna go to church. Well, counselor did not fare well with my finances, so I went to church. And every time she said that to me, it was so impactful and empowering. She just, I mean, I'm sure she knows she touched everybody, but she just don't know what that did for me and how that built me up. Just those 3 words. So
Keep it
powerful.
moving.
So I had the title of my book. It was Dream, which is the character's name. Her first name is Dream, but I just felt like something was missing from that title because when you hear Dream, a lot of people think about dreaming. But
Right.
her name is Dream. And
Mm-hmm.
so it just popped in my head one day, keep it moving. And that's how it became Dream, Keep It Moving. And so it started, I was at a company and this lady, she wrote poems and she wrote a poem about a mother with multiple kids that dated multiple men. And I said, wow, well, let me go write similar story, but in the view of a child. And that's how the first chapter came about. And I sat on it and it would just new topics would pop into my head even at work. I would leave the line and be like, I'll be right back, and I'll just go write. but it just
Wow.
kept flowing and flowing, and I still had no direction what I was doing with this stuff. Came across a lady that was actually a principal at a school, and she was like, "That's a book," and I'm like, "A book?" At that time, you're thinking, "I'm me write a book? I'm not an author."
Right. Clearly, you were wrong on that.
Right. So she started guiding me through, and then she was like, "Okay, because each chapter is actually a poem. The story
Mm,
is wrote in the version of a poem." And she's like, "Okay, you got all of this. You need more. You need to pull more out of each chapter." She's like, "You need questions. You need activities." I was like, "Okay, back to the drawing board." And I work and work and work, and then she's like, "Okay, well, you need a guide now." So I created a guide that goes along with the book. Each chapter, there's vocabulary words, questions that goes beyond the chapter, activities for like small groups. So, and that's how Dream Keep It Moving came about.
so, is Dream you as a child?
And that's always everybody's question. Some of the topics or challenges or situations in the book are similar to my youth, and but it's a collection of young ladies that I've encountered over the years of mentoring and working with other nonprofit organizations. So it's kind of a collection of different stories.
Wow. So, you're getting mentored in this process of writing a book. You
Yes.
publish this book, and then you take it, and now you're using it as a ministry.
Yes. Of course, you don't know what type of impact what you do is going to have, but the feedback that I get is like, wow, it is
Mm,
so phenomenal. And, of course, I gave it to some adult friends to read before I published it, and they were like, if I had this when I was young, or this is me, and this is just how I wanted it to be. I didn't want it to be so specific that you didn't feel like you related to it.
mm,
So Dream has a name, but Dream doesn't have an age. She doesn't have a nationality. There's nothing really specific about her but a name, because I wanted people to read it and feel like they could relate to it.
yeah. So, you write this book, and then people start reaching out to you.
Yes, they wanted me to come and do after school programs. I've been to the juvenile with the book. I was floored when the family court reached out to me. They have a girls in crisis program. And these young ladies are on probation. They have this whole program that they go through, and they actually use my book as reading material for a few of their cohorts. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
So, you're
That
writing this book, getting these downloads, and don't even realize the impact that it's having
no,
in the
didn't
future.
even realize the impact. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how does that make you feel, knowing that what and I always tie why I even started this podcast, um, was based on a scripture that says we overcome him by the blood of the lamb and the words of our testimony. It's the testimony that
Hmm.
people listen to. They're like, you went through that?
Hmm.
Wow. And it's sort of like you said, a guide to get through it.
Hmm.
How does that make you feel?
So every time I get feedback, anyone reaches out to me and tells me what their thoughts of the book, I always tell God, thank you for trusting me with
Mm,
this vision and this mission that you have, because I like I said, I don't know where this came from. It had to been God.
yeah.
And the way that this book was published, and the mentors that just came into my life and walked me through even publishing the book, staying on me about finishing the book, guiding me through creating this into a book. I can't contribute to this nothing but to God.
Yeah. But you didn't stop at one book.
No,
You
those
have another book. So you're trying to really figure this out. Now, at the time you're writing this book and then the next book, you're not thinking, I need to find myself. You're
No.
thinking, I just need to do this.
Yes. So at the end, actually, of Dream Keep It Moving, there's a page at the end. That's actually the first. I can't. It was first. It's an insert from Letters from Joy. So I started writing letters from joy before I even knew I was writing letters from joy. I knew after Dream Keep It Moving, I wanted to talk about her mom, and her name is Joy. So actually, what, 5, 6 years later, I
Mhm.
sat on that like, God, I know you're not done with me yet. I want to write some more. Let's go. And nothing came to me. And then it hit me and I started writing letters from joy. So when my daughter turned 18, I was still fairly young, I would say. And
Mhm.
I was like, oh, it's gonna be my time to live. I'm about to be out here traveling. I'm about to do this and do that. And I'm looking in the mirror like, who are you? You've
Wow.
been you've been nothing but a mother. Who are you? What do you like to eat? Where do you like to go? What do you like to do for fun? And even when people ask me that question, I would be like, I don't know.
Wow.
No idea. And it just hit me one day like, it's time for you. You have to find out who Cynthia is, and it's time for Cynthia to live. Now your children are grown off doing their own thing. It's not cool to hang with me anymore. And you're just existing, you're not living. So
Mm.
that really got me into writing letters from joy because it was time for me to find my joy.
So have you found your joy? Have you done some more traveling, some more soul searching? Where are you in life?
Yes, I did the work. I've been traveling, something I've never done. Just doing things that I enjoy,
Mhm.
living my life. And there was even a point where I got in the book and I got stuck again. And I'm like, I'm ready to get this done. Let's go. I'm ready to publish my next book. And God was like, I need you to experience some more stuff and I need you to grow some more. I need you to do some more before you can finish this joy or finish this book saying letters from joy. I need you to this place in joy that I need you to be.
Mm. And you're done with that book.
Yes.
So, would you say that as you look over your life from being a teen mom, looking for something to fulfill you, raising your kids, your children who are now young adults, you have 6 grandchildren,
6.
and you've written 2 books.
Yeah.
Would you have imagined that you would be at this point in your life?
Never, never. I never imagined where I would be. I was so consumed in that day in, just making sure that day was okay for my kids that I
Mm.
didn't think beyond that.
Mm. So now you're beyond it.
I'm beyond it. I
Well, what is next for you?
actually started working on another book.
Ah! Now, is it sort of like the same theme?
No, I am taking on that challenge of writing a novel. I've had a few friends reach out to me and asking me to help them write their book. And I'm like, you know what? It's time to challenge myself for writing a novel and a story. So both my books are in poem form. I'm
Mhm.
just stuck in that realm. It's easy for me to write in that realm, but each poem is a story. And
Mm.
so now I'm going to challenge myself for writing a novel.
So, have you started or you're thinking about it?
No, I've started. And it's crazy because I am most inspired in the air. So when I'm on flights, I am actually with my phone in the note app, just a typing. And it was funny. We landed one time, and the guy sitting next to me was like, "Good luck on your writing." I'm like, like, you were reading what I was.
Right. Like, get back.
Yeah. He was like, good luck on your writing. I'm like, wow, okay.
Oh, wow. How exciting. So, how far are you into it?
Well, I'm still early in the beginning,
Okay.
but I
Okay.
have the concept that I want the path for the story to go on. So
Okay. I'm excited because I didn't know. I was hoping that you were going to say another book, a novel. You go, girl.
thank you.
That is exciting. So
Yeah.
I look forward to hearing about that. So that means we're going to have to come back together again and get the update and, hopefully get some people interested in making a purchase. So I
Yeah.
have, for those of you who are interested in buying either Dream, Keep It Moving, or what's the other one called?
Letters from Joy.
Letters from Joy. Yes, Letters from Joy. It's down streaming at the bottom. Go to www.dreamkim for Keep It Moving, but KIM.com to get your copies.
Yes.
Cynthia, what are some final words that you want to share for somebody who may have experienced what you've experienced, gone through some of the things that you've gone through, and you want to inspire them and encourage them? What do you want to share?
I want to say, I would tell them to hold on. Never give up. Your journey it can be challenging. There's going to be some bumps in your journey, but never give up. Always remember to keep it moving. And sometimes those days when you keep it moving might look like you're taking half a step. It might look like you're taking a step back, but keep it moving, because I promise you, joy is on the other side. Just stay focused and keep it moving.
You just tied both of those together. That's good. That's good. Cynthia, I want to thank you so much for sharing your story, giving words of encouragement, because sometimes people don't know what to do and they're in that moment. And I am confident that you have encouraged somebody, given just planted that seed of hope. And that's all we can do. One plant, one waters, God gives the increase. So we're going to leave it there. So thank you again for joining. For
Yeah.
those of you who are listening, thank you so much. You are appreciated. If you didn't catch the live and this is a replay, YouTube or wherever you're listening to or watching this, thank you so much for your support. Make sure that you go to my YouTube page, because I'm going to start putting these on YouTube and I don't want you to miss anything. So again, my name is Kishen. I am your human resource. I help people see the possibilities and what they think is impossible. I am disrupting HR, disrupting leadership, and I hope that this interview with Miss Cynthia Walker has caused you to think differently and disrupted you. Thank you so much for your time. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank you.